Hi guys, Nick Jennison for Guitar Interactive, and no, your eyes are not deceiving you. This is an enormous instrument on the test bench today. We're taking a look at the Jet B-Tone from our friends at Aria. Now, as the name would imply, this is a baritone guitar, and it's a whopping 30-inch scale length, which puts it up there with the longest baritone guitars on the market, but it also holds the distinction of being one of the absolute most affordable baritones that money can buy. Believe me, I have checked. Now, in the intro, you heard me playing some slide guitar through our Super Kraken set with a bit of gain. Let's change over to a clean sound and we'll explore how well this guitar deals with some rather pretty sounding chord voicings. Check out the monstrous killer sustain at the end of this example. So now we've heard this guitar played both clean and with a little bit of dirt, let's take a little bit of a look at the specifications. So we're going to start up here at the headstock. We have Aria's traditional 6-in-a-line headstock design, 2 string trees which aren't too obtrusive, they're just applying a little bit of downward pressure onto the nut, which is going to increase sustain. You guys know how string trees work, of course you do. It's a rosewood fingerboard on a maple neck, absolutely rock solid, and the neck itself is actually pretty slim for a baritone neck. It's not a huge hulking baseball bat, but it is by no means wizard thin, if you know what I'm talking about. Now, if we flip things over, we have a carved away neck joint right here at the heel, which is going to give you some great upper fret access. And you can see we have, again, this lovely contour, which is the same body design as Aria's Jet guitar that we looked at in a previous edition of Guitar Interactive. Now, I happen to think that it's a really great looking design, but I've got to think that this was the design they were going for when they designed this Jet shape, because it looks absolutely fantastic and really nicely proportioned with a baritone neck. It looks really slender and elegant, and this kind of forward lean makes it look aggressive in a very cool kind of way. The pickup configuration, as I'm sure you can see, is a single humbucker, a single coil in the neck. We have a master volume, master tone, and a 3-way toggle selector, which is down here conveniently out of the way. Now, I will say, much as I did with the standard 25.5-inch scale Jet guitar in our previous review, this pickup selector can get a little bit dicey in its positioning if you sit with your guitar very far forward. If you tend to lean the guitar in this way, it can clatter on your leg. But of course, if you're playing standing up with a strap, or if you're playing on your left leg in the classical position, it's not going to be an issue. And I didn't actually come across this at all, apart from when I was leaning forward to adjust my cameras when I started filming this review. So there you go. Anyway, another interesting distinction about this particular guitar is that it has a trem, and this is a 6-saddle, 6-screw synchronized trem. It's typical of your traditional kind of Fender style trem, but you don't get very many trems on baritone guitars. Now, it is pretty stiff because you've got to have 5 springs in the back to balance across the string tension, but it's definitely usable and it's great for some kind of chordal shimmers. I wouldn't necessarily expect Floyd type antics out of this kind of trem anyway, and certainly not on this guitar, but it does return to pitch very well and it feels pretty positive, even if you do have to put a little bit of elbow grease in to make it work. Now, as we mentioned at the top of this review, this guitar is a 30-inch scale, which puts it at the absolute longest kind of end of the baritone market. Now, traditional baritone guitars tend to sit somewhere between 27 and about 28, 29-inch scale length. This is right up there with a Fender Bass 6. And what that means, well, there's two implications from this really. The first of which is that it's going to be nice and tight and very positive under your pick, and it's also going to ring out with a real nice clarity, but also it means you could take these strings off and replace it with a Bass 6 set and tune this guitar E to E, 1 octave down from a traditional guitar, and get some Bass 6 action on the go, which is very, very impressive. It's a very, very cool feature. And of course, because it's so large and so long, it does change the way you play somewhat. Now we're going to explore some more, how shall I put it, some more kind of like fireworks type playing later on in this review. But let's get into the sounds before we do that. So we're going to take a tour of the pickups. First of all, set clean, and then we'll do the same tour set dirty. Let's start on the bridge humbucker. We'll then go to the middle position, which is both pickups, and then we'll go to the neck position on its own, which is the single coil. There are no splits to speak of, there's no fancy wiring, it's just these 3 sounds, master volume, master tone. That's all you get, but that's really all you need. So let's take a listen to some clean sounds. And now that we've heard this guitar played clean and we can appreciate the fabulous piano-like resonance that's in there, let's switch over to a dirty sound. For this, we're going to use the V4 Countess because it's got a very springy, spanky distortion. We'll dial up a fair amount of gain, and let's take a listen to our 3 pickup settings again. So hopefully what you can hear from those examples is that set clean, this guitar has an absolutely fabulous piano-like resonance and just a killer sustain. It just goes on forever. And that could be something to do with the elongated scale length, but it's also a very, very resonant guitar acoustically. Now, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to hear that through the medium of video, but you'll have to trust me, it is resonating like an absolute good one. And it's a really nice tactile feeling when you're playing. It's kind of like vibrating up against my chest cavity. Feels really, really nice. And of course, there is a lot of real estate on the fingerboard with it being a very long scale guitar, but it's not so large that we can't play some stretchy chord voicings and have them sound pretty convincing. It's a really, really nice playing experience. If you haven't experimented with baritone guitars, by the way, I absolutely urge you to do so. It's something every guitar player should have in their arsenal. And with this one being so affordable, I'll let you look up the price on your own, but it is really staggeringly affordable, as most Aria guitars tend to be. There's really no excuse not to have an instrument like this in your collection. So anyway, let's take a listen to some style-specific examples before we go any further. And the first one we're going to do is some surf/spaghetti western type playing. Now, I'm a huge fan of baritone guitars for this type of music. It's really, really pleasing to play on an instrument like this, especially one tuned B to B. We're going to throw on some tremolo from Strymon Mobius. We're going to use the spring reverb in our Waza tube amp expander. It's going to be the Super Kraken set clean with just a hair of breakup. We're going to be in the middle position and it's going to sound something like this. I mean, really, that's the kind of sound that I could sit and play all day and never get bored of. It's just so much fun. And those big, long, stretchy chords just sound all the more exciting in this tuning. Really, really sounds great. Now, the next example we're going to do is some fuzz. Now, you guys know I'm a huge fuzz hound. I do like me some thick, dirty fuzz. And on a baritone, it is even more rewarding. So let's go to the bridge pickup. We're going to throw on a thick sounding muff style fuzz. Let's riff out in what's going to work out as C sharp. It's going to sound something like this. So with a thick, dense sounding fuzz like this one, you need a really articulate instrument to cut through, especially when you tune very low, and the jet B-tone definitely supplies the goods here. Now, a question that is going to be on many of your lips is how well does this instrument do metal riffing? And it only behooves us to try. So I will say that because this instrument is so large, it's a little bit alien to play this kind of riffery on, but I'll try my best. I think it sounds pretty cool, and it's certainly tight and percussive in the low end, as we're about to hear. So while it's definitely not a metal styled guitar, and if I was going to use this guitar for metal riffing, I'd maybe think about changing the pickups out for perhaps an active set, maybe some Fishman Fluences or some EMGs or something like that. I do think this guitar holds its own very well in this type of setting as is. So we did have to use a little bit of a boost to tighten things up in the low end, but once we got the tone dialed in, I think it sounds pretty good. Now, one last piece of playing we're going to explore is how well this guitar handles some shreddy histrionics, because that's kind of my bag. I will say, definitely not designed for this type of playing, but it's still a lot of fun and it's an entertaining challenge. So let's whack on a load of gain, a bit of reverb and delay, and let's see what we can come up with. So if anything, that demonstration is going to show you what this guitar is not intended for, which is the shred thing. Of course it's not. It's a baritone guitar. What it is for is huge slabs of thick dirt and massive rich piano sounding chords, and for that this guitar delivers in spades. So there you go guys, this has been the B-Tone Jet from Aria. It's a great sounding guitar, it looks fantastic, it's got 3 really cool tones, a trem that functions really nicely, that's an added extra, and you can use it as a bass 6 with the right string gauge because it has that massive 30-inch scale length. It's pretty light, balances well on your lap, balances well on a strap, the neck profile is very comfortable. There is literally nothing not to love about this, but most importantly, it is the most affordable way to dip your toe into baritone waters. Now, we don't talk about price on these videos, but I'm going to encourage you to go away and look that up because you will be staggered at how affordable this instrument is, especially when you consider how fantastically well built and great sounding and great looking it is. It comes in a deluxe padded gig bag. Can't say enough good things about this. It is a very, very impressive instrument. My name is Nick Jennison for Guitar Interactive. I'll see you next time.